Welcome. Welcome to tonight's quiet hour. Before we begin, take a moment to arrange yourself in whatever way feels most restful. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let the weight of your head settle fully into whatever's holding it. Tonight, you're going to visit a place that does not appear on any map. A place that exists in that long, slow hour when the sky forgets to finish setting, when the light lingers and lingers and lingers, and everything below it grows quiet in sympathy. You do not need to do anything at all. You do not need to remember the details. You do not need to follow the story. The words are only here to keep you company while you drift. Let your breath slow, if it hasn't already. Breathe in gently through the nose. Let it out through slightly parted lips. And again, in and out. There's nothing you need to solve tonight. Nothing you need to fix. Nothing that requires your attention. The world will hold its own weight for a while, and you can set yours down. Imagine, if you like, that a small door has appeared just at the edge of your resting. A wooden door, painted a pale, chalky blue, with a brass handle worn smooth by many gentle hands. The door is not locked. It is only waiting. When you are ready, and there is no hurry, you may step through. You may find, on the other side, a place that already feels somehow familiar. A place where you have always been expected, and where you have always been welcome. Take one more slow breath, and one more. And now, gently, without effort, allow the door to open. You step through, and the air changes. The air on this side is cooler, and it carries with it the faint scent of warm beeswax. Beeswax and clover, and something powdery beneath, like fine dust that has been drying in the sun all afternoon. You breathe it in, and it settles you somehow, the way a familiar kitchen settles you, the way an old book settles you when it opens to a page you already half remember. You are standing on a narrow path made of pale, chalky stone. The stone is cool underfoot and slightly powdery, so that when you take a step, a faint white bloom lifts and then settles again. The path winds gently upward along the edge of a great white cliff. Below the cliff, far below, a valley folds itself into blue and violet shadow. Above, the sky is doing something unusual. It is dusking. It has been dusking, in fact, for a long while, and it will go on dusking for a long while yet. Here, the twilight is not a moment. It is an hour, or several. The sun sits low and patient behind the far ridge, and its light spills sideways across the world, gold turning to rose, rose turning to lilac, lilac turning to that deep blue that is almost, but not quite, night. Nothing here is in a hurry. Not the light, not the breeze, not you. Ahead of you, tucked into the curve of the cliff itself, is a small building. It leans into the chalk as though it has been leaning there for a very long time. The walls are pale stone and pale timber, weathered soft. The roof is low, with skylights set at gentle angles, and through the skylights, you can already see a warm amber glow beginning to bloom, the color of honey held up to a lamp. This is the apothecary, the Twilight Beekeepers' apothecary, though no sign says so. Everyone who needs to find it, finds it. Beside the apothecary, on the slope that catches the last of the long light, there is a garden. The garden is bordered by a low wall of the same chalky stone, and its gate is a simple wooden thing, silvered by weather, hung on iron hinges that have been oiled so many times they no longer speak. Beyond the gate, you can just make out the shapes of hives. Round hives, square hives, tall, thin hives like little towers, each one different, each one placed carefully among low clumps of lavender and thyme and evening primrose, and already, without straining, you can hear them. The bees, a low, drowsy hum, the sound of 1,000 tiny wings folding themselves toward rest. Not a busy hum, not a working hum. The evening hum, the going-in hum. It is one of the softest sounds you have ever heard. You stand for a moment, listening. The chalky breeze moves past you, cool and faint, carrying the scent of the hives and the garden and the deep valley below. Somewhere down the cliff, a bell rings once, a very small bell, and then does not ring again. The door of the apothecary is open. A rectangle of warm honey light lies across the pale stone. Inside, someone is moving quietly. You take a step toward the door, then another. The stone remembers your footsteps and forgets them again. At the threshold, you pause. The air inside is warmer than the air outside, and it carries all of the outside scents concentrated. Beeswax, clover, pollen dust, honey, and the faint green sweetness of fresh linden. Beneath these there is another scent, older and quieter, the scent of old wood and paper, of drawers that have been opened and closed for many years. A voice says, gently, without turning around, "Come in, come in. I've been expecting you." The voice belongs to Umbel. You will not need to remember her name if you don't wish to. She is the apothecary here, and the keeper of the pollen ledger, and the sorter of the hours. She is small and unhurried, dressed in soft linen the color of oatmeal, with an apron the color of tea. Her hair is pinned up loosely, and there are pale streaks in it, the color of chalk dust. Her hands are her most interesting feature. Small, patient hands, dusted very lightly with pollen at the fingertips. She turns and smiles at you the way one smiles at a returning friend. "You've come just in time for rounds," she says, and her voice is low and unhurried, the kind of voice that makes you want to sit down. "Would you walk with me?" You would. Of course you would. Umbel takes down a small lantern from a hook by the door. It is one of the Dusk-Lamps, a squat little thing with a linen shade the color of cream, and inside it, a small, steady flame that does not flicker. The linen softens the light into something warm and diffuse, so that when Umbel lifts the lamp, a gentle circle of glow moves with her and does not startle anything. "The bees are almost in," she says, mostly to herself. "But we look in on them all the same. It's the looking that matters, more than the seeing." You follow her out through the door and back onto the chalky path. The lamp swings very slowly at her side. The world outside is a shade deeper now. The gold has moved into rose, and the rose is beginning to think about lilac. At the garden gate, she stops. "This is the hush gate," she says. "We are quiet here, not because the bees mind, but because we mind, and it is a good habit to keep." She lifts the latch. The gate opens without a word. Inside the garden, the air changes again. It is thick with the day's warmth, released slowly from the stones and the leaves. Lavender brushes against your legs as you pass, and each brush releases a small breath of scent. Thyme underfoot. Chamomile in low mats. Evening primrose, its yellow flowers opening now that the sun has softened. The hives stand in loose rows, each on its own small platform of chalkstone. Umbel walks the path between them with the same slow, familiar step she uses everywhere. She holds the dusk lamp low, so that its light spreads warmly across the ground and only faintly touches the hives themselves. She stops at the first hive, a squat, round one made of woven straw. "This is one of the 6 o'clock hives," she says softly. "They forage earliest when the light is still gold. Their pollen is the color of unripe wheat, and their honey tastes of butter and mown grass. They are the first to come home. You lean in, just a little, and you can hear it, the low, drowsy hum from inside, layered and warm. It is the sound of a great many small creatures agreeing, quietly, that the day is done." Umbel places a hand very gently on the side of the hive, not to open it, only to greet it. "All well," she murmurs. "All in." She moves on. You move with her. The next hive is taller and made of pale wood. 7 o'clock, she says. They like the rose hour. Their pollen is a soft pink, like the inside of a shell. Their honey is a little sharper, currants, and the last of the raspberries. Again, she lays a hand on the wood, and again she nods. The circle of dusk lamp light moves ahead of her, gentle and slow. The chalk dust breeze moves through the garden, cool and faint, and stirs the linen shade of the lamp so that the light breathes. "Here," she says, "at a thin, tower-like hive, is the 8 o'clock. They come home in lilac light, and their pollen carries it. Their honey is my favorite, though it wouldn't be kind to say so in front of the others." She smiles a small smile, only to herself. "Their honey tastes of evening. I cannot describe it any better than that." You stand together for a moment, listening to the 8 o'clock hive hum. Its hum is a little lower than the others, a little slower. The bees are already deep in their settling. Farther along, there are hives whose bees forage even later. The 9 o'clock hive, whose pollen is the color of dark plums, and the 10 o'clock hive, whose bees fly out in the last silvery light and return with pollen so pale it is nearly blue. Umbel visits each one and greets each one and lays her hand on each one. She never opens a lid. She never lifts a frame. The evening rounds are only for looking and listening and greeting. At the far corner of the garden, there's a low wooden bench, weathered soft by many years of sitting. Umbel does not sit on it, not yet, but she sets the dusk lamp on the ground beside it, and she takes from beneath the bench a small stack of woven trays. The trays are the color of new straw. They are shallow and finely made, and each one is lined with a fine cloth. Inside each tray are the day's gatherings, small, soft mounds of pollen in every color of the long evening. Gold, amber, rose, lilac, plum, silver. The colors are arranged in gentle little heaps, kept apart by low ridges of the woven straw. The bees leave these for me at the entrance boards, Umbel says, though she is not explaining, only speaking. I gather them at rounds. I carry them home. I sort them. I write them down. It has always been this way. She lifts the first tray very carefully and holds it flat, and the pollen does not stir. She sets it on her forearm, then the next tray, then the next. 6 trays in all, stacked one above the other, held with the patient balance of someone who has held them 1,000 times. You reach out, without thinking, to help. Umbel smiles. Yes, she says. Please. She lifts the top 3 trays and passes them, one at a time, into your hands. They are lighter than you expected, almost weightless. But the pollen inside gives them a soft, powdery presence, a kind of gentle gravity, like carrying a folded blanket. The scent from the trays is remarkable. It is sweet and dry at once, a scent that lives in the throat rather than the nose. Beeswax and clover, and something greener, and something older. She picks up the dusk lamp again with her free hand, and together you walk slowly back through the garden. The bees hum on either side, drowsy and content. The lavender bows and rises. The chalk dust breeze moves through the primrose and lifts a scent of honey up out of the earth. At the hush gate, Umbel turns and looks back over the garden. "Good night, small ones," she says. The bees hum on. She closes the gate. The latch settles with a soft, wooden sound. You carry the trays back along the chalky path. The path is cool underfoot and slightly powdery. The dusk lamp light moves with you both, a slow, warm circle. Ahead, the apothecary door is still open, still spilling its honey-colored rectangle across the stones. You step through the door together. Inside, the apothecary is small and warm and very still. Take a moment to notice it, in the slow way one notices things when there is no hurry. The ceiling is low, made of pale wooden beams, and between the beams, the plaster is a soft cream. From one beam hangs a bundle of dried linden flowers, from another a bundle of chamomile, and from a third a bundle of something silver-leaved that gives off a scent of stone and salt. The skylights above are the color of deep evening now, but a warm amber glow still lifts through them from within, the light of the apothecary itself welling up. The walls are lined from floor to ceiling with drawers, small wooden drawers, rows and rows of them. Each drawer is no bigger than a hand, and each drawer has a small paper label at its center and a small brass pole worn smooth. The labels are written in a soft, patient hand. 6 o'clock gold, 7 o'clock rose, 7:30 coral, 8 o'clock lilac, 8:40 violet, 9 o'clock plum, 9:30 dusk blue, 10 o'clock silver. There are drawers for hours you might not have known existed. The between hours, the half hours, the little quarter hours where the light changes and no one but a bee has noticed. In the center of the room is a long wooden table, worn smooth by many years of gentle work. The table is set up for sorting. Along one edge, a row of small glass thimbles, each no larger than a thumb tip, stand in a wooden holder. Along another edge, a soft cloth for wiping, and a small wooden spoon, and a set of tiny, patient tools, a slender brush, a rounded scoop, a pair of wooden tweezers with felt-lined tips. At one end of the table sits the pollen ledger. It is a fat book, bound in soft leather the color of tea, with a marker of pale ribbon tucked between its pages. Beside it, an ink pot and a pen with a wooden handle. Beside the pen, a small dish of fine sand for blotting. At the far wall, on a low iron stove, sits a copper kettle. It is beginning, very slowly, to sigh. To one side of the stove, a deep armchair with a knitted throw. To the other side, a shelf of small clay pots. Above the shelf, a window, the cliffside window, set into the chalk wall itself, framing a slice of deep blue evening and the very first stars. The floor is pale stone, worn soft in the places where feet most often stand, by the door, by the table, by the stove, by the wall of drawers, Umbel's slow paths, drawn into the floor by years of quiet walking. Umbel sets her trays on the table. You set yours beside them. She takes off the dusk lamp and hangs it back on its hook. The room is lit now only by a few soft lamps set here and there, one on the table, one on the shelf above the stove, one small one tucked in a niche among the drawers. Their linen shades soften everything. Nothing in this room throws a sharp shadow. Umbel takes a deep breath and lets it out slowly. "Now," she says, "the sorting." She washes her hands at a small basin by the door. The water is drawn from a jug and poured into a wide bowl, and it makes a soft, low sound as it fills. She dries her hands on a linen cloth. She invites you, with a small gesture, to do the same. The water is cool. The cloth is soft. Your hands feel clean and quiet. She takes her place at the table. "The bees," she says, "sort by hour without knowing they are sorting. They fly out in the morning, and they fly out again in the afternoon, and each flight brings back its own light. We only finish what they have begun." She lifts the first tray. It is the 6 o'clock tray, its pollen a soft, warm gold. Even in the lamplight, it seems to hold a memory of earlier sun. She sets it in front of her and picks up the small, rounded scoop. The scoop is the size of a thimble. With it, she lifts a careful measure of the 6 o'clock gold. The pollen moves in a soft, powdery slide. Not a pouring, exactly, but a settling, a hush. She tips it into a small paper cone. The paper cone slides open the 6 o'clock gold drawer. The drawer opens with a soft, wooden click. It slides out only a little way, only as far as it needs. Inside, there is already a soft nest of the same gold pollen from days before, and Umbel adds today's measure to it and gives the drawer the smallest, gentlest shake and closes it again. Click. She looks up at you. "1," she says quietly. She takes another scoop from the 6 o'clock tray. This one goes into one of the tiny glass thimbles. She writes a very small mark on a paper tag and ties the tag to the thimble with a thread of soft string. The thimble goes into a wooden holder that already holds several others from previous days, each with its own tiny tag. "For sampling later," she murmurs. "We taste sometimes, not to judge, only to know." She works her way through the 6 o'clock tray in unhurried movements. Scoop, cone, drawer, click. Scoop, thimble, tag, holder. Scoop, cone, drawer, click. The rhythm is very slow and very even, and the soft wooden clicks of the drawers begin to make a kind of gentle music beneath the low murmur of the copper kettle on the stove. You watch her hands, if you wish. You do not have to. You can watch the drawers instead, or the skylights, where the amber glow has deepened into something like old brass, or the cliffside window, where more stars are beginning, patient and slow. When the 6 o'clock tray is empty, Umbel dusts it lightly with a soft brush and sets it aside. She picks up the 7 o'clock tray. Its pollen is a soft, powdery rose, the color of a shell held up to a candle. She smiles at it, a small, private smile, and begins again. Scoop, cone. The 7 o'clock rose drawer slides out with its own soft click. The rose pollen joins its kin. Click, scoop, thimble, tag. Another sample for the holder. The room is warm. The copper kettle sighs. The bundle of linden overhead releases its scent gently as the warm air rises. Somewhere in the wall, a beam settles with the smallest creak, and then is still. She works through the 7 o'clock tray, and then the 7:30 tray, which is a pinker rose, almost coral. Its drawer is on the middle shelf, and it opens and closes with the same low wooden click. There's a click for every hour, a click for every half hour. The clicks are so soft that they do not disturb the quiet. They only mark it, the way a slow clock in another room marks a still afternoon. At one point, Umbel looks up and remembers the kettle. She rises, unhurried, and lifts it from the stove. It has been sighing for some time now. A soft, low sigh, not a whistle. She pours the water into a small brown pot and adds a pinch of something from one of the clay jars. Chamomile, perhaps, and a leaf or two of the silver herb from the beam. The scent rises in a soft cloud. She sets the pot on a small stand near the table and pours 2 small cups. One for herself, one for you. The cup is warm in your hands. It is a simple cup, glazed the color of cream, with a small chip on the rim from long use. The tea is pale gold. It smells of chamomile and something faintly minty and something faintly sweet. You do not need to drink it yet. Just holding it is enough. The warmth moves gently into your fingers. Umbel sits back down at the table. She takes a small sip of her own cup and closes her eyes for a moment, and then sets it aside. She picks up the 8 o'clock tray. The 8 o'clock pollen is a lilac so soft it is almost gray, and yet it seems to glow faintly, as if it remembers the sky it was gathered under. My favorite, she says quietly, only to herself, as if the pollen might hear. She works through the tray. Scoop, cone. The 8 o'clock lilac drawer clicks open. The lilac joins its kin. Click. The lilac drawer is on the upper shelf, and she stands on her toes only a little to reach it. She does not use a stool. She has been reaching this drawer for many, many years. She samples a thimble, tags it, places it in the holder. She picks up the pen, then, and turns to the pollen ledger. The ledger opens with the softest of sounds. The paper is soft with age, and each page has been turned, and turned back, and turned again. The pages are ruled faintly in pale gray, and each line holds a small, patient entry. She dips the pen in the ink pot. She wipes it once, gently, on the edge. She writes. She writes the date, or something like a date. The numbers slow and rounded. She writes the hour. She writes the color. 6 o'clock gold, full tray. 7 o'clock rose, 3/4 tray. 7:30 coral, half tray, slightly damp. 8 o'clock lilac, full tray, exceptional. She smiles again at that last word. She sprinkles a tiny pinch of sand from the dish onto the wet ink and tips the sand back into the dish and blows very gently on the page. The ink is set. She turns the page. Outside the cliffside window, the sky has deepened another shade. The evening is drawing itself down slowly. The chalk dust breeze comes in through the small opening at the top of the window, cool and faint, and stirs the paper labels of the drawers so that they whisper for a moment against the wood. The whisper is barely a whisper. Then it is gone. Umbel picks up the next tray. 840 violet. Its pollen is a deep, dusky purple, like the color of a plum in the last of the light. She sorts it. Scoop, cone, drawer, click. Scoop, thimble, tag, holder. She writes it in the ledger. 840 violet. Half tray, unusually fragrant. 9 o'clock plum. A deeper drawer, lower down. Its click is a little heavier, a little rounder. The plum pollen slides down into its nest of yesterdays. 9:30 dusk blue. A pollen so blue it is almost gray, and so gray it is almost silver. The drawer is small, near the floor, and Umbel kneels for a moment to open it. The click is quiet and low. 10 o'clock, silver. The last tray. Its pollen is almost pearl, almost moonlight. There's only a little of it. The 10 o'clock bees are few, and they fly slowly, and they do not gather much. But what they gather is precious in its way. Umbel handles it with even more gentleness than the rest. Scoop, cone, drawer, click. She writes it in the ledger. 10 o'clock, silver, 1 small measure. All bees returned. She closes the ledger. The book settles closed with a soft, satisfied sound. She lays her hand on it for a moment, the way she laid her hand on each hive in the garden. Greeting, thanking, setting down. She looks up at you, and her eyes are soft. There, she says. That is the day. Put away. You take a slow sip of the tea. It is still warm. It tastes of the field it came from, and of the small clay jar, and of Umbel's careful pinch. Chamomile settles into you like a slow tide. Umbel rises from the table, unhurried. She takes the empty trays and stacks them by the door, where they will be ready for the morning. She wipes the table with a soft cloth in slow, patient circles. She lifts the small wooden spoon and the little brushes and the tweezers and returns each to its place in a shallow tray on a shelf. Each returning is its own small motion. Nothing is thrown. Nothing is dropped. Everything is placed. She lifts the wooden holder of glass thimbles. Their tags whisper softly against one another. She carries the holder to a cabinet with a glass front and opens the cabinet. The door swings without a sound and sets the holder inside, on its own shelf, beside other holders from other evenings. Rows of tiny thimbles, each with its tiny tag, each a bottled fragment of a particular hour of a particular day. The whole cabinet glows faintly amber in the lamplight, as though it holds not pollen, but small stars. She closes the cabinet. The latch settles. The kettle has stopped sighing. The stove is warm still, but the fire inside has softened to a low glow. The room is very still. Umbel walks slowly along the wall of drawers, and one by one, she gives each row a gentle pass with a soft cloth. Not cleaning, really. Only greeting. Only touching the labels one more time. 6 o'clock gold. 7 o'clock rose. 7:30 coral. 8 o'clock lilac. 8:40 violet. 9 o'clock plum. 9:30 dusk blue. 10 o'clock silver. The labels rustle softly beneath her fingers. The paper is old and soft and does not resist. She turns to you. Would you like to see one up close? She asks. You would. She chooses the 8 o'clock lilac drawer, her favorite. She slides it open. The click is barely a click. Inside, the lilac pollen sits in a soft, powdery drift, its color impossible in the lamplight. Grayer than gray, more lilac than lilac, a color that only exists in this room, in this hour. She takes a tiny pinch between her fingertips. Feel, she says. You reach out. She lets the smallest measure of the lilac pollen fall onto your fingertip. It is powdery and dry and impossibly soft. It has weight, but the weight is more like the weight of a shadow than the weight of a stone. It smells faintly of clover, and faintly of evening, and faintly of something you cannot name. The smell of the hour itself, if an hour could have a smell. You rub it gently between your fingertips. It becomes even finer. It dusts your skin lilac, only a little, only enough that when you tilt your hand in the lamplight, you can see a faint sheen of the color. Umbel smiles. That is a moment of 8 o'clock, she says. Now it is yours. She closes the drawer. Click. She goes to a small shelf and takes down a jar. The jar is small and round, made of amber glass. Inside it is honey, but the honey is not one color. It is many. Layered. A band of gold at the bottom, then a band of rose, then a band of coral, then lilac, then violet, then plum, and dusk blue, then a thin final layer of silver at the very top. Each band is thin. Each band is distinct. This is a whole evening, Umbel says. One evening of last summer, laid down hour by hour. I don't often open these. It is enough to know they exist. It is enough to hold them up to the lamp. She holds the jar up to the small lamp on the table. The honey light passes through the amber glass and lays a warm, striped glow across the wood of the table. Gold, rose, coral, lilac, violet, plum, dusk blue, silver. The colors move faintly as she turns the jar. It is like holding a small, quiet sunset in your hand. She sets the jar down again with great care. The honey settles inside it, and the colors settle with it, and the jar returns to its place on the shelf. For a while now, you and Umbel simply stand in the warm room. The tea cools slowly in your hand. The lamps burn low and steady. The dried linden overhead breathes out its evening scent. The copper kettle is quiet. The wall of drawers is closed and full. The ledger is closed. The cabinet of thimbles is closed. Everything that could be sorted has been sorted. Everything that could be written has been written. Umbel takes a slow breath and lets it out, and her shoulders lower a little further. There is one more thing, she says. There's always one more thing, and then no more things. She goes to the cliffside window. The window is set deep into the chalk of the cliff itself, and its sill is a broad slab of pale stone, cool and dry. Set on the sill is a small oil lamp, smaller than the Dusk-Lamps, no larger than a pear. Umbel opens a tiny box beside the lamp, takes out a slender wooden match, and strikes it. The match makes a very small sound. The flame is very small. Umbel touches it to the wick of the little lamp, and the wick catches gently, and a warm point of light appears in the deep frame of the window. For the 10 o'clock bees, she says softly. Should any of them come home late, it gives them something to steer by. She blows out the match. A curl of pale smoke rises and is lost in the still air. You look at the tiny lamp in the great blue window, and it seems, somehow, the whole point of the room, the whole point of the evening. A small, patient light kept for someone who might yet be coming home. Umbel turns from the window. Now, she says, rest. She walks to the deep armchair by the stove and gathers the knitted throw from its back. She holds it up, and it opens between her hands like a soft field. She looks at you. Sit, she says. Sit. You have carried the trays. You have felt the 8 o'clock. You have seen the evening in the jar. There's no more that needs doing. You go to the armchair. It is old and deep and welcoming. The cushion accepts you as though it has been shaped over years for exactly your shape. The armrests are worn smooth. The back is high enough to rest your head against. Umbel lays the knitted throw across your lap. It is warm and soft and heavier than it looks. It smells faintly of beeswax and cedar and clover. It settles onto your legs with a small, quiet weight, and something inside you settles with it. She fetches a small cushion from a chair by the window and slips it behind your head. There, she says. There, there. She takes her own cup of tea and sits down on a low wooden stool near the stove and lets out a slow, contented breath. She does not speak for a while. The copper kettle is silent. The stove ticks faintly. The tiny lamp in the window burns steady. Somewhere outside, far off, A single low bell rings once and does not ring again. The room is dim now and warm and full of gentle things. The amber light lies across the pale stone floor. The wall of drawers is a low, patient presence. 6 o'clock gold, 7 o'clock rose, 7:30 coral, 8 o'clock lilac, 8:40 violet, 9 o'clock plum, 9:30 dusk blue, 10 o'clock silver, all sleeping. Outside, past the cliffside window, the last of the long evening is finishing itself. The sky is a deep, tired blue. Stars are settling in like slow bees returning to their hive. One, then another, then a scatter, then a soft powder of them. You are very warm. The throw is heavy on your legs in exactly the right way. Your hands rest loose in your lap. The cup is still in one hand, but it is nearly empty. And Umbel, without a word, comes and lifts it gently from your fingers and sets it aside on the small table by the chair. The lifting is so gentle that your hand hardly notices it has been unburdened. Umbel returns to her stool. She hums, very softly, a low, tuneless hum, more like a bee's evening than a song. It weaves in among the drowsy sounds of the room. You may notice, if you notice anything at all, that your breathing has slowed, that your chest rises and falls without effort, that your fingers have gone loose, that your jaw is soft, that your eyelids are heavier than they were. There's nothing else to do, nothing to remember, nothing to carry. All the drawers are closed. All the trays are stacked by the door. All the bees are in. The ledger is put away. The little lamp is burning for anyone who might yet be coming home. Somewhere in the wall of drawers, one of the paper labels rustles very softly, and then is still. The chalk dust breeze moves gently through the cliffside window. It carries the faintest scent of lavender from the garden below. It lifts the linen shade of the nearest lamp by the smallest degree and lets it fall again. Umbel is still humming, but the hum is softer now. Softer, softer. Your breath moves in. Your breath moves out. The throw is warm across your legs. The cushion is soft against your head. You are here. You are safe. You are held. You are welcome to stay as long as you wish. The amber light in the room is dimming. Slowly, slowly, as one lamp after another softens itself down. The lamp on the shelf. The lamp in the niche among the drawers. The lamp on the table. Only the small one in the window keeps its steady flame. The room is going quiet. The stove is warm still, but it does not need tending. The bees are asleep in the garden. The pollen is asleep in its drawers. The honey is asleep in its jars. The ledger is asleep on the table. The thimbles are asleep in the cabinet. Everything is where it belongs. You are where you belong. You are warm. You are heavy. You are held. Let your breath grow slower. Let your thoughts, if any come, drift like pale pollen, soft and dry and weightless, and let them settle wherever they wish. You do not need to catch them. They will find their own drawers. 6 o'clock gold, 7 o'clock rose, 8 o'clock lilac, 9 o'clock plum, 10 o'clock silver. The colors move gently through you, and then past you, and then are gone. The room is very dim now. Only the little lamp at the window, only the low glow from the stove, only the warm heaviness of the throw, only the soft, drowsy hum from somewhere, the bees, or Umbel, or the room itself, humming quietly to keep you company. Your eyes are heavy. Your breath is slow. The chalk dust breeze moves once more, faintly, and settles. The copper kettle is silent. The drawers are closed. The last small click of the evening, the softest of all, has already been given. Rest now. Rest. There's nothing more to sort, nothing more to carry, nothing more to know. Only the warm room, only the small lamp, only the slow breath, only the honey light through amber glass, the low hum of the bees, the soft click of small wooden drawers, the faint chalky breeze from the cliffside window, the warm throw, the deep chair, the quiet. You are here. You are safe. You are welcome. Sleep now. Sleep. Sleep. The room does not leave you. It only softens. The walls, which were stone and plaster, the pale color of old cream, grow less certain at their edges. The ceiling, which was low and beamed and hung with dried lavender in small bundles, becomes only a warmth above you. The floor, which was worn oak and covered in a rug the color of steeped tea, becomes only a steadiness below you. You are still in the chair. The chair is still deep. The throw is still heavy across your knees. But the chair, too, is becoming quieter, as if it, also, is beginning to rest. Somewhere, very far away, a bell rings once. It is a small bell, and a kind one, and it is not calling you. It is only saying that the hour has turned somewhere beyond the garden, in a village you will not need to visit tonight. The sound comes across the fields, thinned by distance, softened by the cool air, and arrives at the window as no more than a hush. Then it is gone. You do not need to remember it. The bees in the garden are asleep in their small wooden houses. The pollen is asleep in its labeled drawers. The marigold gold, the poppy red, the barrage blue, the chestnut brown, the linden pale as candlelight. The honey is asleep in its jars along the high shelf, each jar a different amber, each amber a different hour, each hour already given, already gathered, already put away. Umbel, the small striped cat who has kept you company all evening, is asleep on the corner of the rug. Her paws are folded under her chest. Her tail is curled once around her body. Her breath is very small and very even and very warm. You can hear her if you listen, but you do not need to listen. The stove has settled into its long, low glow. The little door is closed. The last of the pine wood inside has become a bed of soft red coals, and the coals are quiet, and the coals are patient, and the coals will keep the room warm for many hours without ever needing you to think of them. A thin, sweet smell of resin drifts out and mingles with the honey smell, and the beeswax smell, and the chalk dust smell of the cliffside breeze, and all of these smells together become one smell, which is simply the smell of a place where you are safe. You breathe it in slowly. You breathe it out more slowly still. The little lamp at the window is turned very low. Its flame is no larger than a thumbprint. It leans gently to one side, and then gently to the other, and then is still. The glass around it is warm. The brass base is warm. The small hook it hangs from is warm. The window frame, painted many times over the years in the same soft cream, holds the lamp the way a shelf holds a favorite cup. Outside the window, the cliffside falls away into a great softness. There is no need to look. You already know what is there. The pale grasses that lean in the wind. The chalk paths worn silver by many quiet footsteps. The sea, far below, moving slowly against the rocks, saying and saying and saying the same low word, which is not a word at all, only a sound the sea has always made and always will. You do not need to hear the sea to know it is there. It has been there through every part of your evening, humming just under the humming of the bees. And it will still be there when the morning comes, whether you notice it or not. It asks nothing of you. The chalk dust breeze moves once. It stirs the smallest lavender bundle above your head. It touches the back of your hand. It settles. You are warm. You are heavy. You are held. Time in this room is not made of minutes. Time here is made of small, quiet things placed in order. The honey jar set on its shelf. The thimble returned to the cabinet. The ledger closed, and the pen laid across it, and the pen sighing once as it settles. The stove door shut. The lamp turned low. Each small thing a soft click, and each soft click another minute of the evening put safely away. All of the small clicks have been given now. There are none left to give. The evening is complete. You feel this without having to think it. You feel it the way you feel the weight of the throw across your knees, or the deep patience of the chair beneath you, or the low, warm hum coming from somewhere that might be the bees, or might be Umbel, or might be the stove, or might be the room itself. The room is humming very softly. It is a hum with no melody, and no words, and no beginning, and no end. It is only a hum that says, here, here, here. Here is the warm chair. Here is the warm throw. Here is the warm lamp. Here is the warm stove. Here is the warm floor beneath the warm rug. Here is the warm ceiling above the warm beams. Here is the warm evening, folded around you like the softest of covers. Here, here, here. Your shoulders, which were carrying something earlier, you cannot quite remember what, have set it down. Whatever it was, it has been placed in one of the small wooden drawers, and the drawer has been closed, and the drawer has been labeled in a neat, quiet hand, and you do not need to open it again tonight. It is safe. It will keep. Your hands, which have done many small, kind things today, are resting now in your lap. They are curled loosely. They are warm on their palms and cool on their backs, the way hands are when they are truly at rest. They do not need to hold anything. They do not need to reach for anything. They are simply here with you, in the deep chair, in the warm room, on the quiet cliffside. Your feet are warm inside their soft wool. Your knees are warm beneath the throw. Your back is warm against the cushion. The top of your head is warm, where the small lamp's glow just touches it. Every part of you is warm, and every part of you is still, and every part of you is welcome. Outside, the pale grasses lean. Outside, the chalk paths shine faintly under a thin moon. Outside, the sea says its long, low word. Inside, the room hums here, here, here. Your breath goes out. Your breath goes in. Your breath goes out. You do not need to count. The room is counting for you in its own slow way. One honey jar, one honey jar, one honey jar. Each breath, another small amber weight set gently on the shelf of the night. Somewhere in the garden, though you cannot see it, a single late bee stirs in her sleep, adjusts her small striped body against her sister's, and settles again. The hive breathes as one warm creature. The hive is dreaming of clover, and of linden blossom, and of the pale, wide faces of the poppies at the edge of the field. The hive does not need you to watch over it. The hive is watching over itself. You may let the hive go. You may let the garden go. You may let the drawers go. You may let the jars go. You may let the ledger go. You may let the thimbles go. Everything has been counted. Everything has been placed. Everything has been labeled in the small, neat hand of the evening. There is nothing left that needs your attention. Even the little lamp at the window does not need you. It will burn low and steady all night, and then, in its own time, near the pale hour before morning, it will grow smaller still, and then smaller, and then it will settle into a soft, dark warmth and rest, the way you are resting. You do not need to wait up for it. You do not need to see it out. It knows the way. Even the stove does not need you. The coals will keep their long, slow watch, growing gentler, growing quieter, growing into that patient gray warmth that lasts through the deepest part of the night. If you were to wake for a moment, which you will not, but if you were, you would find the room still warm, still soft, still the same honey-lit place, waiting quietly for the morning. Even Umbel does not need you. She is deep in her small striped sleep. Her whiskers twitch once. Her paw twitches once. She is dreaming of something small and slow and pleasant. Perhaps a moth she saw at dusk. Perhaps a patch of sun she remembers from a long summer afternoon. Her dream is a good one. Her dream will hold her all the way through. You may close your eyes further. You may let your eyelids grow as heavy as the throw across your knees. Heavier, softer, warmer. If they are already closed, that is well. If they are not quite closed, that is well also. There's no correct way to rest in this room. The room only asks that you be here, and you are here. You are here. You are here. You are here. The chalk dust breeze moves once more, so faintly it might almost be memory. It carries the scent of the far grasses, and of the sea salt cooling on the rocks, and of the very last warmth of the day rising up the cliff. It touches the back of your hand. It touches the softest place at your temple. It settles. 6 o'clock gold. 7 o'clock rose. 8 o'clock lilac. 9 o'clock plum. 10 o'clock silver. The colors move once more through the room, and once more through you, and once more past you, growing dimmer with each hour, until only the silver remains, and then even the silver softens and softens, and becomes the gentle no color of a room in which the lamps have been turned low, and the sleeper has begun to dream. You are beginning to dream, or you are near to beginning. Either is well. The dream, when it comes, will be a kind one. It may have bees in it, moving slowly through a field of pale flowers. It may have a small cat curled on a windowsill. It may have a jar of honey held up to a low sun, and the light coming through the amber in slow, warm bars. It may have none of these things, and only a soft, dark warmth, and a feeling of being held. Whatever the dream, it will find you gently. It will not startle you. It will not hurry you. It will simply arrive the way the evening arrived, one small, quiet click at a time. The room hums. Here, here, here. You breathe. Slower, slower, slower. The little lamp leans and steadies and leans and steadies. The stove glows and dims and glows and dims. Umbel breathes, small and even. The sea, far below, says its long, low word. And you, in the deep chair, under the warm throw, in the honey-lit room, on the quiet cliffside, at the soft end of a good, long evening, you rest. You rest. You rest. There's nothing more to gather. There's nothing more to place. There's nothing more to label. There's nothing more to close. There's nothing more to know. Only the warm room. Only the small lamp. Only the slow breath only the honey light through amber glass, only the low hum of the bees, only the soft click of small wooden drawers given now to sleep, only the faint, chalky breeze from the cliffside window settling, only the warm throw, only the deep chair, only the quiet. You are here. You are safe. You are welcome. You may sleep. You may sleep as long as you like. The room will keep. The garden will keep. The bees will keep. The honey will keep. The lamp will keep. The stove will keep. Umbel will keep. The sea will keep. The pale grasses will keep. The chalk paths will keep. The whole soft world of this evening will keep, quietly and patiently, for as long as you need. Nothing here will change without your knowing. Nothing here will leave. Nothing here will fade before you are ready. You may let go. You may let go of the day. You may let go of the hour. You may let go of the shape of the room around you. You may let go of the sound of the words. The words will grow softer now, and softer still, and they will not need you to follow them. They will only be a low, warm hum, like the hum of the bees, like the hum of the stove, like the hum of the room saying here, 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 here. Your breath, slow. Your body, warm. Your thoughts, if any, drifting like pale pollen, soft and dry and weightless, settling wherever they wish, in whichever drawer they choose. You do not need to guide them. They know the way. The room is very dim. The lamp is very low. The stove is very quiet. Umbel is very still. You are very heavy and very warm and very safe. The evening has done all of its work. You have done all of your work. There is nothing left. Rest. Rest now. Rest. The honey light softens. The amber glass softens. The small wooden drawers grow distant. The chalky breeze grows distant. The warm throw grows distant, and yet still holds you. The deep chair grows distant, and yet still carries you. The room grows distant, and yet still surrounds you. Everything is here. Everything is far away. Both at once. Both are well. You are slipping now, softly, gently, the way a small striped bee slips into her small striped sleep at the heart of the warm hive, the way a jar of honey slips into the long amber quiet of a shelf at the end of a good day, the way a lamp slips into its own low glow when the evening is done. You are slipping. You are safe. You are held. Sleep. 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 The bell, somewhere far across the fields, rings once more. Or perhaps it does not. Perhaps you are only remembering it. And the sound is so soft that it is already part of the dream. The sea says its long, low word. The room hums here. You breathe. You breathe. You breathe. Honey light, amber glass, small wooden drawers, chalky breeze, warm throw, deep chair, the low hum, the low hum, the low hum. Rest now. You are here. You are safe. You are welcome. Sleep, sleep, sleep.